There is a popular saying, universally accepted, that you get what you want with what you are. This basically describes the Marriage of Anansewa by Efua Sutherland. Hello and welcome to Literature PADI. And in this video, I am going to simplify the Marriage of Anansewa. At the epicenter of this text is this character named Ananse. He is portrayed as wretched and but ambitious. And when you have a wretchedness and ambition in the same sentence, it's a trap for depression. This character is a widower and very poor. In fact, he has a leaky roof. He is unable to pay his daughter's school fees. But he has a leverage too, actually. The first is his daughter, his beautiful daughter, and his cunningness. So he has this tool, as I said, leverage in the text to uplift or move from his low status, low social status, to a higher part of the ladder, higher rung of the social ladder. So he has a beautiful daughter. Named Anansewa. Well, Anansewa is a 20-year-old lady. She's 20-years old and she's ripe for marriage. So Ananse decides to commodify his daughter. He decides to commodify his daughter to uplift himself from being a poor man to become a rich man. So, and in doing so, he dictates a letter to his daughter. Which he is going to take to 4 chiefs. So we have the 4 chiefs here. Okay, we have the 4 chiefs here. So 4 different chiefs. While their names are not necessarily material, it is important for us to know that this is a chief of Akate. This is a chief of the mines. This is a chief Sapase. And finally, we have a chief who is chief. So he dictates a letter to his daughter and he takes this letter and the photographs of his 4 different photographs of his daughter to these 4 different chiefs. So he goes on a trip around the country to give each of these chiefs and offers his daughters and in marriage to the 4 chiefs. So and these chiefs, they are not aware that he offered his daughter, the hands of his daughter, to the 4 of them. So each of them has that impression that Ananse single-handedly offers his daughter to each of them. So this is basically what we have here. So Anansewa, on the other hand, while she does not approve the commodification, how Ananse, her father, has a commodified her. She does not approve of how Ananse has commodified her. But Ananse talks her into the thing, tells her what they would get at the end of the day. Yes, you've been home for the past 2 weeks. You you've been home for the past 2 weeks, you're unable to pay your school fees and all that at the EP secretariat school. So now this is a chance for you to, for us to be rich and for you to get a good husband. So he persuades Anansewa into the plan. So, and later on, the thing, this plan begins to materialize into something. So each of those chiefs send gifts. They send monetary gifts to Anansi. In fact, one of them, chief, who is a chief, pays Anansewa's school fee. He pays Anansewa's school fee. So, and as the play progresses, Ananse's social standing changes. So he goes from being a poor man to a rich man. To a rich man. So he transforms. In fact, we can see this in the transformation of his house. At the beginning of the text, he had he lives under a leaky roof. But as his social standing improves, he changes a lot of things. We have the repair of the house. In fact, he starts wearing a proper suit. He goes to church to impress them with the material resources he has garnered through his cunningness. So this is what we have for Anansi. How Anansi becomes a rich man from being a poor man through the commodification of his daughter Anansewa. Then everything is going smoothly until the four chiefs decide at a time that they want to marry Anansewa. And that is where Anansi gets caught in his web of trickery, in his web of cunningness. So he has to devise a plan, another plan, so that these four chiefs would not come at the same time to marry, because it is not possible for four men to marry just a bride. So only one of them can marry a bride. And this is Anansi, who has collected different gifts, monetary gifts from the four chiefs. So he has no option than to devise a plan that would extricate him from the web he has caught himself in. He has wiggled himself into. So now he connives with this lady who obviously has an interest in him, Christy Yamoa. So this is Christy, and she is the proprietress of Institute for Prospective Brides. So earlier on, he enrolled Anansewa in Christie's Institute for Prospective Brides to prepare her for marriage. So he connives with her to come up with a plan on how this thing would not backfire. It has already backfired, but so that he would extricate himself from that web he's caught in already. So, and he had to tell his daughter Anansewa to pretend to be dead. So he tells her to pretend to be dead. So Anansewa pretends to be dead. Anansewa pretends to be dead. And the emissaries of each chief come around. The first one comes. Well, our chief would have loved to marry you and all that. So in other words, each of them extricates themselves from, we've only spent money on her. We've not married her yet. So even the funeral rites and all that is not our responsibility and things like that. So each of them, and through their emissaries, we get to know the intent of each chief. For example, one of the chief wants to use Anansewa to make other wives in the palace jealous. one of them wants to make a business partner. So we see the intent, the motives of each chief. We see the motives of each chief from the words of their emissaries. Then finally comes the emissaries or messengers of chief, who is a chief. And in the case of chief, who is chief, apart from the gifts he brings around and all that, well, the others also brought a gift. So apart from the gifts he brings around, he also provides a ring and a glass coffin. So even in death, he is marrying Anansewa. So Ananse realizes that, well, Chief, who is Chief, truly loves Anansewa. So, and miraculously chants some things and all that, performs some abracadabra, and then Anansewa rises from the dead. And at the end of the thing, the play ends on a comedic note. It ends on a happy note. Anansewa marries, is given out in marriage to Chi, who is a Chi. So this play highlights the rise of Ananse from poverty to wealth through the commodification of his daughter. Well, I would argue that Ananse has two interests in mind. He had two interests in mind. He transcends. He goes from the saying of you get what you want with what you have to the saying of killing two birds with a stone. The first bird is becoming rich. Becoming rich. So you becoming rich. So he's going to use the avenue of his daughter's marriage to become rich. That's the first bird. Then the second bird is getting the right spouse. Getting the right spouse for his daughter. So that is the second objective. So we may say Ananse is ambitious, Ananse is greedy. Well, there are a lot of things poverty would make you do. But there is something that is undeniable here. Ananse has the best, he has the best interest for his daughter. He has the interest of his daughter in mind. So that one is not disputable. He has the interest of his daughter in mind. So this is basically what the marriage of Anansewa is all about. And we've examined some of the characters. We have Ananse, we have Anansewa, and we should know that Anansewa is manipulated by her father. She is manipulated by her father. And then we have Christy, then the chiefs. Although the chiefs do not appear in the text, we only come across their emissaries, and their emissaries convey their messages, their intent. The emissaries convey their intent. So that is basically what Marriage of Anansewa is all about. How a father decides to use his daughter to become rich, to become wealthy, to use his daughter's marriage to become wealthy, and how he navigates the web of trickery he created for himself. And the marriage of Anansewa, looking beyond that, the marriage of Anansewa is grounded in Akan tradition. The Akan tradition of storytelling, known as Ananse. Okay, Anansesen. So known as Anansesen. So this is the tradition, and the tradition involves the telling of stories about the wily and cunning spider known as Ananse. And in other cultures, with the equivalent of that spider, we have tortoise in some culture, we have a fox in some culture, in the sameness and likeness of wisdom and cunningness. So Anansewa. And this play has a audience participation too, because we have some characters known as the players, as a ready-made audience on stage. So they sing, they clap, and then still talking about Anansewa. We have the storyteller. We have the storyteller who passes commentary, about what is going in the text and things like that. So we have a musical performance too, the singing of song in Bogo. So we have that in the text too. So this text is a very interesting one. It's a text you should read. And it is characterized by the theme of poverty. It is characterized by the theme of matchmaking, the theme of materialism, the theme of cunningness, wit and cunningness. Then we have the theme of female commodification. So you have a lot of themes. The theme of greediness is there too. You have the theme of greediness. So this text is a very simple text. And talking about other characters, we have Aya. So we have Aya. So she's Ananse's mother. Ananse's mother and Anansewa's grandmother. So she stands, she feels the shoes of Anansewa's dead mom. So Anansewa's dead mom. Then we have another character too. We have another character. Well, this is, we have another character. Well, this character is Ananse's. Yes, Ananse's aunt. So Ananse's aunt. So we have our Ananse's elderly sister, Anansewa's aunt. So these are some of the characters. We have Kua. This is Kua, that's the aunt. Wow, this is Aya, who is the grandmother to Anansewa. So these are some of the things you would find in the marriage of Anansewa. So what other things? I believe that's all for this video, and I believe you now understand better what the marriage of Anansewa is all about. Well, in you can check the comment section. We have written a plethora of posts of blog posts on the marriage of Anansewa. In fact, we have also curated a study guide on the same text. You may want to check it out in the comment section. Thank you.